Hey Pirates, a real quick screencast on reviewing the performance event. This will be a requirement watching this video and completing a reflection before you could retake the performance event. So to successfully complete this, I would read the directions completely. The test is right here. I'm going to scroll down and notice that, there's a scoring guide right here that gives me the actual language that we're looking for each of these. So I'm going to refer back to that throughout the test. So I'm going to click on the test. And the first thing I need to do is file, make a copy, and then name it. So I'm going to have the actual scoring rubric in one tab and my test in another tab. I'm going to put my name and hour. Let's say I was in hour 2. Then I'm going to read this data table and the prompt very carefully. Starting off, I noticed that I have temperature, which I'm going to highlight as yellow, and that is my independent variable. I should know that just because it's in the left-hand column of the data table. Then I have number of bacteria colonies, CFU. That is my dependent variable. I'm going to highlight that in a light blue. And so those are my variables throughout. If I read this prompt, yogurt contains live active bacteria, also known as probiotics. The primary group of bacteria contained in the yogurt is Lactobacillus bulgaricus. Making yogurt involves allowing the yogurt bacteria to multiply so the sugar in the milk is converted to lactic acid, allowing the milk to coagulate into the solid structure we associate with yogurt. Your high school science club has decided to raise bacteria to make their own yogurt. The key to growing correct bacteria is temperature. You need to examine how different temperatures affect the growth rate of bacteria. So, right there, that would be my testable question. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. Right there, how do different temperatures affect the growth rate of bacteria? So my testable question, right here, I'm going to use that. My hypothesis would be a simple answer to that. And so, for example, if the temperature is increased, then the growth rate will increase. Might be a possible hypothesis. So real quick before I go on, I'm going to come here and I'm going to check. My testable question needs to say, how does the IV affect the DV? Let's see, did I do that? How does the temperature affect the growth rate of bacteria? Remember I said my IV and my DV. I'm going to go ahead and write those here. My independent variable is temperature, and it's in Celsius, and then growth rate of bacteria, and it's in CFUs. And so if I go back to my scoring guide, a predicted answer, the testable question, specific IV followed by how the DV will change. So specifically, if temperature is increased, then the growth rate of bacteria will increase. I'm predicting it will increase. That's how it's going to change. My IV and DV with units, my scoring guide says, specific and includes units. Specific and measurable and includes units. And again, I didn't fabricate those. I picked them out of the scenario and the information provided. The next says identify 4 constants for this study. And so basically anything but your IV or DV could be constants. So you could have the milk, sugar added, the location, containers, tool used to measure, and so on. But you need 4 of them. Again, any of them, anything that would affect the growth of bacteria other than temperature. And obviously you can't have growth rate here because that's your dependent variable. The next question says to create a line graph of the data on paper and then include all the parts for task and then insert that photo here. And so to graph this, I'm going to keep this kind of in front of me. I'm going to graph this data table and I'm going to do it on paper. Again, my independent variable is on the left-hand side and that goes on the x-axis. My dependent variable is on the right-hand side and it goes on the y-axis. So to set this up, I'm going to have this and I'm going to create an X and Y axis. On my x-axis, I'm going to have temperature, degrees Celsius. Then I'm going to have growth rate of bacteria. And the units are CFU. And I need my temperatures to go to 50, so I'm going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And I need my bacteria colonies to go up to 20. So I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20. Notice I have started at 0. I have equal spacing. 0 to 10 is the same as 10 to 20, and so forth. My title would be the effect of temp on growth rate of bacteria. Then I would plot this as an XY coordinate graph. So if I'm looking at my data table, I can see that at 10 degrees I went to 9 CFUs. So at 10 degrees, going up to 9 CFUs, putting my first dot. Then at 15 degrees, I'm going up to 10. 15 degrees, I'm going up to 10, and so forth. I would continue this process until I have completed my graph. Then I would go back to my scoring guide and I would look at what it says about graphing. My title, the effect of IV on DV, I have that on my graph. the effect of temperature on growth rate of bacteria. My axis, IV is on X, DV is on Y. Both of them have units. My IV is on X with units, temperature, degrees Celsius. My DV is growth rate of bacteria, CFUs. My scale on both axes, starting at 0, use constant space value. I have done that. Start at 0, consistent space value. Both axes are scaled. And then finally, plot shows the relationship between the IV and the DV. Well, if you graph your IV here and your DV here, whatever the plot is shows the relationship between the IV and the DV. If you go back to the test, several of you made a bar graph, but if you read this question, it says create a line graph. Be sure that you follow the directions. Finally, the last question, I'm needing to write an appropriate claim based on the results of this experiment. Use data from the results to support your claim. I could refer to my graph, which I've inserted right here. Let me walk through inserting it. To insert that graph, I'm going to take a picture of it. Mine is not complete. Obviously, I would like you to complete the graph. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to check my picture to be sure that I can read it. Then I'm going to insert it right here. To insert it, I'm going to put my cursor there. I'm going to space down a little bit. I'm going to go to Insert, Image, Upload from Computer. I'm going to go down here to my photos, my photo booth. I'm going to find that graph. There it is. And notice I'm going to check to be sure that I can actually read the text in the picture and see the points that are plotted, your line that's drawn. Make sure you can see all of that before you go on. If I can't see it, I can't assign you points for it. Okay, for your claim, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to look at this data table. I notice that the trend in temperature is it starts at 10 and it goes up by 5 until you get to 50. Temperature is increasing the whole time. If I look at my number of bacteria colonies, I notice that it starts at 9 and it increases until it gets to 20. But at 20, it's only 35 degrees. After 20, it goes down 19, 14, 10. So as temperature goes up after 35 degrees, the number of colonies goes down. So my claim, write an appropriate claim based on the results of this experiment, use data. My initial claim would be the ideal temperature for bacteria is 35 degrees Celsius where 20 CFU of bacteria were grown. Temperatures above and below 35 led to fewer bacteria colonies grow. And so I have used data, temperature, number of CFUs, temperature. I've made a claim. There's an ideal temperature, so I'm not just saying increasing temperature is best, because increasing it to a point is best, and then that increasing it becomes negative in terms of the growth rate of bacteria. Okay, so the final step for this, I'm going to turn it in, get a shareable link. I'm going to come here. I'm going to make sure that